This is the Intuitive Leadership Mastery Podcast. What would it take for you to double your profits and half your stress with your intuition? Learn how with your host, Michael Light.
Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Conni, and I'm going to totally make a meal of your last name, Conni. It's Biesalski, or how do you pronounce that?
It's pronounced Biesalski.
Biesalski, all right. And she helps people live and work location independent while embracing a conscious, healthy, and spiritual lifestyle. Wow, I want some of that. And I've met her in many locations around the world. She is very inspiring. She's a yoga teacher, a surfer, and she is so spiritually focused, and she uses that in her business. And I am so excited to learn more about that today. She created Germany's biggest travel blog, Planet Black Backpack, and also co-founded Blog Camp, an online school for professional blogging. So she has some business chops as well as spiritual chops. And we're going to be looking at how she uses intuition in her business, how she hears her messages from her intuition, and how her intuition has helped her start a new business called Live Your Heart Out. And that includes a YouTube channel, and intuition has helped her grow that to thousands of subscribers. We'll also talk a bit about why surfing is a key business skill to have, and how she's managed to grow closer to her intuition for business over the years and hear her inner guidance better. Also, we're going to talk about how you can learn to trust your intuition more and act on it, because many entrepreneurs hear those intuitive messages, but they're not sure if they should act on them. So welcome, Conni.
Hello, Michael. Thank you for the wonderful intro. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So how do you use intuition in your business? Is it just certain areas like hiring or marketing, or how do you use it?
Well, to be honest, I use it all over the place. I think it's my number one guide on a daily basis and overall in the big picture. I think I've even grown to the point where I couldn't do it any other way. I used to be very much focused on what my head used to tell me. And I used to be very out of touch with my intuition in my personal life, with all my professional life, in all areas of life. And it took me a very long time to get to where I'm today and actually tap into that more softer kind of yin, feminine energy in myself, even though I am a woman. But that doesn't mean anything in terms of the energies that we tap into. And how do I use it in my business? Well, there's so many ways that I use it, and for me, I guess it's grown very, very natural that I don't even think about it anymore. But it's actually a good point for me to kind of look at it in a more objective way. So, for example, right now I'm in the process of starting a new project. I'm in the middle of it. I'm just creating the website. I have already kind of changed my YouTube channel to the new project, and I'm diving more and more into what that's meant to be. And I felt something new coming along about maybe a year and a half ago or so, that I could feel that my time as the travel blogger in Germany, in Planet Backpack, Conni the digital nomad, Conni the travel blogger, I could just feel inside of me that was slowly shifting, that wasn't my end goal, that was not who I needed to be anymore. And I was trying really hard to figure out what that next step would be. And we try to do that in our heads. And it's like so many other people out there, they're trying so hard to figure out the business idea, that, they're trying so hard to figure out what business to start or what decisions to make. And we're trying to kind of fill out all these questions and questionnaires, and it's really hard to just do that on a rational sort of level. And so eventually I just like, okay, well, I'm not getting anywhere with just trying to think about it and talking about it. I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to give wherever I'm going, I'm going to give it back to the universe, and I will trust that the universe will guide me. And whenever the time is right, I will find out where I need to go and what I need to do. And so when I kind of surrendered all of that, I then felt myself in this sort of inception phase. I could feel that my connection to whatever, this bigger power energy, however you want to call it was open. There was it was literally, you could look at it as some sort of, I don't know, maybe an image of where there's your head, and the top of your head, it's open, and it's like this funnel, and you're getting information into that funnel, kind of. I don't know if that makes sense. And so this is what I was in that kind of phase for a very long time, where I would be gathering ideas from my surroundings, from other people, from conversations, from the universe, from, all that. But I wasn't, I knew my intuition told me to not force it, to not try too hard, to just let it flow. And so I did. And I knew inside of me as well, like maybe I need to meet people, certain people, maybe I need to have certain experiences for me to then figure out exactly what my next step, this bigger project, this bigger thing that I'm meant to do is, because I know that I'm here on this planet for more than just having a travel blog, And so all of this was based on intuition of how I went about. And then eventually, beginning of this year, and I could feel it coming on the last few months, and now we're in March, but I would say around, maybe like a month or two ago, that it became very clear. Suddenly there was clarity, and it was a certain clarity that you can't force rationally. It was a clarity that happened very intuitively, knowing what to listen to, what to take in, what to use. So this whole process has been completely guided by intuition. If I was more, focused on business and making money and growing and all that, I would keep on doing what I'm doing, which is the travel blog, which is where my income's coming from, and where it would be so easy to keep growing and to reach more people and to be more successful and to be more popular. But my intuition tells me that there is something else. And so I'm following that path now.
Well, that is very brave of you, because so many people would like to do that and follow their intuition. But how did you learn to trust your intuition to that amazing extent that you're deciding to focus on a new business? You're not quite clear how it's going to make money, but you're just certain you should be doing that.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not, I haven't always been like this at all. For most of my life, I was very much in my masculine energy, being very rational with my decisions and how I was doing things. And so over the last, I would say 5 years, I've been more and more walking onto a spiritual path that really got me deeper and deeper into my purpose in life, into why I'm here, into connecting to my feelings. It started out with just diving into yoga and meditation. I went through a few of my personal crises situations. And so that helped me to kind of deal with life better. And the second effect was that by doing yoga, by diving into meditation and having a regular practice with both of them, that I started to get more in touch with my body and generally just with myself and my soul. And eventually, you start taking things like self-care, self-love more seriously. You think about, what are my needs? What are my desires? You think about that sort of stuff because you realize, wow, I've been completely neglecting. I never thought about what my real needs are, until I did. And I started doing a lot of life coaching or working with life coaches. And that was that was game changing in itself. I've been experimenting a lot with all sorts of energy healing and all sorts of different ways to connect with myself, to heal old traumas, to question old beliefs. And in the end, what it all led me to was just a much deeper, closer connection to who I am and the person that I've always been, but it's just been covered up by so many layers, right? Of, whatever happened in childhood, and then, as a teenager and as we grow up, and all these beliefs, in many ways, all the limiting beliefs. And so was very much out of touch with who I was. Also because I had a very late coming out, so in my late 20s, and I was not feeling, I wasn't feeling what I was feeling for a very long time in my life. So I was completely out of touch with everything kind of that was going on internally. So it was a long process for me that uncovered this connection of who I was, what I needed. And one big part of that was learning how to tap into or how to connect with my feelings and emotions, learning how to actually feel. And once you learn how you feel, then you can listen better to what's good for you, what's not good for you. Is this what I need? Is this not what I need? Is this, am I feeling fulfilled? Is this enriching my life, or is it not? So you just kind of suddenly have this meter, this gauge, of whatever you do, whatever you're experiencing, the person, the people that you meet, the places that you go to. You just have suddenly it's clearer for you as to how, you become more sensitive, I would say, during that process. And I've observed that within me, and I observed that with a lot of other people who kind of dove into themselves more. And so then, you just kind of feel more. And then your gauge tells you, okay, this is good, this is not good, this is what's helping me on my path, this is what's not helping me. So it's really just a process of uncovering that connection with ourselves, so as to kind of be more clear to what we need and how what's good for us. And so and then also it's a trial and error thing, right? I mean, we all know what it's like to ignore our intuition and then follow what our brains tell us. And ignoring the gut, so to speak. And then in the end, whatever happens, it's like, I should have known, or I knew that this was going to happen. And what that says is, when we say these things, it's like, well, I had a feeling, so we kind of knew in our gut, in our stomach. That's usually where these feelings come from. But we tend to, we decide to ignore that because we feel that our brains are smarter than our feelings and what happens in our bodies. And I think once you have this clear connection to yourself, you know how things express themselves in your body. And so when something does not feel right, I can feel that pretty immediately within my body. And when something feels good, I feel that in my body as well. And so that's usually a pretty good indicator. I just kind of have to go inside of my body to know what I need to do. And it's pretty clear by now. And then it's just practice, and actually making decisions based on that. And then once you do that more and more, and then realizing that those decisions were good, even though they might rationally be irrational, and people might tell you that they are irrational, to then also be brave enough, I guess, and strong enough to keep listening to yourself, because we are the only people that know, or the only person that knows what's good for you is you, right? So not anybody else. And so that's kind of how it happened for me.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing adventure, that you learned who your true self was, and you cleared out the stuff that was in the way of seeing that. And then you were experimenting and listening to your intuition and seeing what intuitive advice worked, what didn't, and working on that intuition muscle, in effect.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a muscle, really. It's just working it out, and the more you work it out, the more it grows. That intuitive voice grows louder, and then eventually you can't ignore it anymore. You're like, I'm not going to make that rational decision, even though it might be rationally right. It's like you just can't do that anymore. Yeah.
Just because on a certain level, it's just going to bring you more joy to follow that message of the intuition, even if it doesn't totally make sense on the rational level straight away.
Exactly. And I think also it's, for me, what's also, I think was a game changer is to feel guided and to know that things happen at the right time, for the right reasons, and that life doesn't happen to me, it happens for me. And so that whatever decision that I make, whatever that is, if there's no wrong decision. To trust in that there are no wrong decisions. And so trusting in that whatever happens, even if the result is bad, that it's not really bad. That's just the judgment. That's my personal judgment. That's just how I subjectively describe whatever outcome I'm getting, right? But my intuition knows that whatever decision I make, it's the right. Whatever the result is the right result. And I think it has a lot to do with trust.
Wait, right. What's an example of that where your rational mind was like, whoa, this was a bad decision, but your intuition knew it was a good decision?
Well, I mean, like right now, my brain says, you should keep doing the travel blog. You should keep building that audience. You should do this. You should, should. And because that's what would financially make a lot of sense. And you should focus on this because that's what will make you a lot more money. And you should create this product and blah. And I'm like, yeah, but my intuition and what I need, it doesn't flow together. It just doesn't match. And so I ignore that. And I'm going with diving into a very creative sort of flow right now, where I'm doing things that are not generating an income right now, that are not necessarily expanding and growing my business, but where I'm personally, like for example, I'm doing a lot of YouTube videos right now, and I'm not just doing them because of course I want to grow that channel, but I'm also doing it because I feel so drawn to just creating right now, and creating in a really creative sort of sense in terms of, the videos that I make. It's not just about creating content, but about experimenting with the visual part, with the cinematography, with different ways of editing the video, with experimenting different video styles. I'm rediscovering photography that I used to like. I'm rediscovering a lot of things that I used to love as a child and as a teenager, and going back into the space of play. For maybe the only purpose to just follow that intuitive sort of guidance of I just need to, I want to create, I want to experiment, I want to play. And of course there's a sort, like in the back of my head, there's the idea that eventually it will lead me to a new sort of business model or whatever you want to call it. But for now, that's what I need to be doing. And it's purely intuition based, because if it was up to my brain, I'd be creating ebooks and online courses and all these sort of things, but I choose to go the intuitive route and follow what I need right now, and that is not creating products.
That is amazing, Conni. And I've had similar experiences. I have a software company, but I also have this intuitive leadership company. And I'm just driven to do things to expand that and share the message about how business intuition is the way of the future. And it just reduces stress, increases joy, and makes more profits for people. But it's not clear to me either exactly, okay, how do I monetize this? But I'm sure it'll all work out. I mean, it's almost like, I can feel there's a big kind of tsunami wave on the ocean, and I can either surf with the wave or I can be, drowned by it as it crashes by. And I've decided to surf with the wave and encourage the change to come into the planet. Yeah, exactly.
I can give you another example. For example, last year, I was going through a bit of I was going through just personal crises, I guess, just through a lot of stuff. And I was very depressed for a while, just trying to, work things out. and going through a lot of personal challenges for a year or two. And I had a lot of people approach me with business proposals, or I was invited to do a TEDx talk. I was invited to all these amazing things where all these people, as a rational business woman, oh my God, TEDx talk, gotta say yes. And, I've got all these offerings, but during that time, I needed to really listen to my intuition and to feel into what's good and right for me in those moments. And I said no to a lot of offerings that I got, to a lot of proposals, to a lot of invitations. I said no because I knew intuitively they just weren't the right things to do. So and I told this story yesterday to a friend. I was like, I actually said no to a TEDx talk invitation. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, my intuition said no. And I said no. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's good to follow, it's good to say yes to things, but if the intuition's shining a red light there or a yellow light, I think it's good to listen to that, or at least ask questions. Okay, my intuition's saying no to this TEDx talk. What's the extra information I'm not getting on the rational level that I need to pay attention to?
Exactly.
Is there something off with the person inviting me? Is there something weird happening in the location? Is there somewhere else I'm supposed to be on that date?
Exactly.
There's many questions we could ask our intuition that would give greater clarity.
Totally. In my case, I knew that the message that I had been carrying out into the world was not the message I wanted to keep carrying. Like I didn't want to be on that stage and spread the message that I've been spreading. I knew it didn't feel genuine, because I was going through a lot of stuff. I wasn't happy myself. I was in a really bad place with myself. And I just, my intuition told me to not get on stage and tell people just, live an awesome, happy, successful, location-independent life, when actually I was feeling super unhappy. And I was struggling with life. And that being location-independent is not the end of the rainbow, kind of thing. So,
yeah. What is the end of the rainbow? I've always been curious.
Wow. The end of the rainbow, I think, is I guess, equivalent to the question, what's the purpose of life? What's happiness? And I believe that we all maybe have different answers. For me, it's really about doing a lot of shadow work to then be able to get all the light out that has been covered by a lot of shadow, and then be able to contribute whatever I was put on this planet for, because I think we all have that in us. We're just not quite aware of it. And it also has to do, I believe, with because we're not connected to ourselves and to our intuition enough. And so, we're all here for one reason or another. And it's about uncovering that and then going out and delivering that and contributing to the world.
Yeah, I mean, for me, personal growth or spiritual growth or whatever you want to call it, and whether that's in business or in relationships or in health or any of the other myriad of ways we experience life, is definitely an important part of the meaning of life for me. And also, just having joy, enjoying what we're doing. I think the time for struggle is over, whether that was, what some people call the Piscean age that ended a while back. We're now in the Aquarian age. We don't need to focus on struggle and pain anymore. We can have abundance and joy.
Absolutely.
And play.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. And then the other thing for me on the meaning of life is some of it is just to experience. We incarnate in these bodies and have to create these businesses. And maybe it's because our spirit has never had a business quite like this, or never had the experience of creating a YouTube channel, but not quite knowing how it's going to produce money. And you wanted to be able to have that experience of trusting your intuition over a long period of time, over months or even years before fruit is born.
Oh, absolutely. I also believe that our souls have a lot to learn, and that there is some sort of script, maybe even, I don't know. But I think it's the picture, the big picture is so big, I don't think we can comprehend. But I totally agree with what you say, that there's so much to learn for us and our souls, and that is transcendental in its nature. And we have a job to do here, and however that looks like, and whatever the purposes of that, we might never exactly find out. But that's why I keep following that path of intuition, because I know if I trust in that, then there's no right or wrong. It's always right, or however you want to label it.
Yeah, I mean, from a different, I think it's kind of what altitude do you look at things from? If you're down in the weeds, then the weeds and the trees look high and short. But if you're flying in an airplane looking down, the trees and the weeds all look kind of the same kind of height. And, from a higher spiritual point of view, there is no good and bad. There's just experiences. And they're either useful for the direction we're going in our life or not useful, but we don't have to judge them.
Exactly. That's just our human brain wanting to filter everything and put everything into some pigeonholing everything and putting labels on it and names and all that stuff. Yeah.
So as you've been building your YouTube channel, what decisions has your intuition prompted you to make?
For example, so I just changed. Oh, that was a big decision. Oh man, people keep asking me why I did that. So I changed my YouTube channel from German to English just at the beginning of this year, on January 1st. And a lot of people think it was a rational decision because that way I can reach more people, make more money, It's funny how that's the initial thought that people have, but that was the sole reason why I would change from German to English. And it couldn't be further from the truth, because it would be so much easier to grow that channel in German, because I already have a big reach in Germany with my travel blog and on Facebook and Instagram and all that. And the sole reason why I changed from German to English was purely intuitive. It was literally this pull that I couldn't necessarily describe. It was just this pull of energy that told me somewhere inside of me in words that I needed to do that. And I believe, and that is my interpretation of that pull, is because I need to be connecting with people outside of the German-speaking world, that maybe through that channel I will be meeting certain people around the world. Maybe through that channel in English I will be able to help certain people outside of the German language sphere that need my help or my support. And yeah, it was literally in that way. If that is, meant to be thousands and hundreds of thousands of people or not, that's not for me to decide on. It'll develop in its own speed and nature. But so that was completely based on intuition. The channel was growing really fast as it was. And when I was doing videos in German, and I knew it was going to be a challenge, but I wasn't scared. And that was the funny thing. Like, I really was nervous or scared to do it because I trusted so hard into that part and into that path, and I trusted my intuition so hard that there was no doubt that was the right thing to do. And so when I got a lot of criticism for it, and I did get a lot of criticism for it actually from a lot of my subscribers and viewers, because not all Germans' English is really good. Not all Germans want to watch videos in English. There's a reason for why they follow me in German. And so I got a lot of backlash and a lot of people unscribing and a lot of people leaving nasty comments and sending me hurtful emails about how I was abandoning them. It was pretty sad, actually. And I felt like I was abandoning people. But all I could say was, and people thought that I was doing it for the reach and for the money. I was like, all I could say was, it's just not like that. It was a purely intuitive decision. I need to follow that path and I need to follow my intuition. And so that's what I did. I'm still struggling with the backlash of trying to get my channel back to a phase of growth, but it's slowly going that way, and I just need to give it a bit more time, I believe, to balance itself out. But yeah, so that was a big one, for example.
What a tremendous growth opportunity that provided you, making that decision, that you then
totally.
you got the opportunity to deal with lots of people being upset with you or what you've done.
Absolutely, totally.
And to hold a neutral space for that, and to share with them, if you chose to, that you were guided to make this choice, because that's a learning moment for both you and them. You know, for them to see someone famous who they admire saying, hey, I was just guided to make this. I don't understand totally why I'm doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also feeling into what it's like to disappoint people consciously, and seeing how I was disappointing people. And then I decided as a compromise, I was like, okay, so, because on my Facebook page is still in German, and there's like 30 something followers or fans on Facebook. And I said, okay, so as a compromise, I'm going to do regular Facebook lives for those guys. And so I've been doing Facebook lives sometimes several times a week, but every Sunday at least. And it's been so much fun doing those Facebook lives and connecting with these people. And it's been a really good practice for me also, just doing live stuff. I love doing it now, you know, and so it's been a really awesome learning process for me. And also now that I'm attracting, you know, in the end, it was also about, as I changed into English, it was about kind of filtering out maybe my tribe more, and actually getting more down to who I really wanted to reach. And so I guess I got rid of a lot of the people that weren't my tribe anyway, you know? And so I feel like I feel like it's getting a lot more intimate with the people that I'm reaching now. And I've kind of become more clear as to who these people are. And it's given me a lot more confidence as well in that way. And so, yeah, it's been a really interesting journey. And another intuitive decision was that I did a 30-day challenge, a YouTube challenge. Once I switched to English, I did 30 videos in 30 days about vulnerability. And every day I intuitively decided what sort of video I was going to make, what the topic was about. And sometimes there were very sad topics, because vulnerability can be very sad and very reflective. And so I had no plan for that month in terms of content. I mean, I had ideas, but in the end, I woke up in the morning and I listened to my soul and my intuition, and felt into what I needed to make a video on today. And then that's what I did.
Well, that sounds both personally growthful, but also authentic, and I'm imagining was really helpful for people watching.
Yeah, it was amazing. I could be so fully authentic and transparent and truly who I am, and literally, just make videos really based on what my life was like on that day. And like I said, sometimes, during 1 month, during 30 days of my life anyway, I go through a lot of stuff. I'm a woman, so I have hormones going up and down. And and usually within a 30-day period, I go through, days where I experience sadness or grief, or, obviously there's also a lot of happiness. But I wanted to also especially talk about the days where I feel sadness, and there were days when I was, going through stuff, especially during those 30 days, I was going through some relationship stuff. And there were days when I was crying, and I just, my intuition told me to make a video on crying. And there was a video where I cried in front of the camera, and my intuition told me to leave that in the video, to not cut that out. And all these things. So it's all about, there's little rationale in what I do anymore, to be honest. Yeah.
So, I mean, I love how you stayed in the moment in those videos, Conni. And is staying in the moment related to, I know you surf a lot. And why is surfing a skill that can be reapplied to business?
Oh man, in so many ways, really. I mean, I think surfing has taught me so many things for business and for life. And one of the biggest things, I guess, was overcoming fear and even though you are scared, to just keep doing it anyway, and just keep doing it anyway, and keep doing it anyway, and to fall flat on your face, and to just keep getting up, and you just get rid of the dirt, stand back up, try again. And also for me, surfing is extremely humbling because, I've been doing it for maybe 5 years or 6 years, and I feel like I've mastered certain areas of business and passive income and, growing a popular blog and people knowing me and blah, 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 And I feel like I've mastered that. I've gotten good at yoga and, I can bend my body in certain ways and I don't know. So there's certain areas where I feel like, I'm pretty good at. And then surfing is so humbling. It really puts you back to, to zero. And it's the hardest thing I've ever had to master, I believe. And but I just won't give up. And I feel like it translates so well into business that, you got to be really persistent and you got to keep going. And there will be days and weeks where you might not be as motivated or things are not going as well, or you're struggling. There's a challenge and then, and things pick up again and you have a lot of success. And I feel it's the same way with surfing. I mean, I have days and weeks where it's just shit. I feel like I want to give up. That's it. Like I'm done. I've tried it, and I've been doing it now for maybe a year and a half or so. And it's still hard, and because I battle with a lot of fears and I feel very intimidated with a lot of the guys out there as a woman. And depending on where I am, but like, for example, here in California, there's not that many girls in the water, I feel like. And yeah, so I feel intimidated a lot. And it's the same in business as a woman, it's very male dominated. And to kind of stand up for yourself.
Literally on the surfboard.
Yeah, literally. And so, gosh, yeah, surfing has been such an amazing teacher, to be honest. And I think, one of the biggest ones is to just keep going back in the water and just keep doing it and facing those fears and doing it anyway. And it really does translate so well into real life. And I can feel the effects of that in real life. Like it's not just theory, or it's not just, idealizing or romanticizing surfing or something. Like it's literally helped me to face fears better in real life and business and whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the other thing I find when I surf is I have to be in the moment and I have to be totally paying attention to the reality. You can't fake out surfing. You can't kind of negotiate a wave to do something different.
I mean, for me, when I go out there surfing, it's about life and death, and a lot of times it's still about life and death because, especially when the waves are bigger than I'd like them to be. And so when you're concerned about life and death, that's about the moment. Nothing else matters. You're completely in the moment. It's like when you're stressed out or whatever it is, and you paddle out, and then immediately I forget about whatever was going on the internet, in my business, on my phone and my laptop, and then suddenly you're right there. It's just the wave, you and the wave and your surfboard and some other people around you, and you're in this beautiful element of water that just captivates me each time. And I'm so deeply connected to the ocean and the water. And then, absolutely, just that being in that moment is one of the most beautiful things to be in. And then eventually, you come out and then you're like, wow, I don't remember any of the thoughts that I had before I got into the water. They're literally washed out. It's like it cleanses you or something. So, yeah.
Well, and that sounds so similar to successful business intuition, that you're in the moment, you feel the fear and you trust it anyway. Yeah. And you're in the flow, not of water, but in the flow of spiritual energy. and being aware of that and going with that flow, or choosing to modify the flow if you want to use various other spiritual tools, to shift how things are. Because, when you're surfing, you're not at the mercy of the wave. You can decide how you're going to ride the wave, at what moment you join in it. Do you do all those complicated maneuvers I haven't learned yet where you go through the eye of the wave? But you can choose to go left or right, or, go to the busier part of the wave or the quieter part.
Yeah, definitely. I like the metaphor with the flow as well, because I believe I'm in the best position to be creative and produce amazing things and results when I'm in the flow. And that flow that you experience when you're riding a wave is just, it's the best feeling ever. And having that flow as I'm creating in my business is also probably the best feeling ever. And so, yeah, they're very similar.
So let's wrap this conversation up by talking about how you've learned to get closer to your business intuition and inner guidance, because you seem to be amazingly close to yours. But how have you got there, and how could others get there?
Yeah, I guess it relates to what I said in the beginning. It's really about adopting certain practices in your life, and I can only recommend people dive into yoga and meditation, and picking up a daily meditation practice in the morning. And not just in the morning, but just like one practical thing that I can recommend is to several times a day check in with yourself and just for one moment be like, what am I feeling right now? How am I right now? What's going on inside of me right now? And just noticing and becoming aware. It doesn't even have to be a meditation. And that practices or that cultivates your intuitive muscle, I believe, because as you're checking in with yourself, you're building some sort of, deeper connection with yourself. And that deeper connection essentially is your intuition, because then you start to hear more, you start to feel more. And then it's about really acting on it. And that means actually making decisions based on your intuition and consciously doing that, and let's say, you are, it could be small decisions, day-to-day decisions. It could be like, for example, am I going to work on this thing today for the next 8 hours? Or should I maybe go out for a long walk, or should I, go for a long drive, or, and then just kind of feel into that, not into, I don't know, it's not about being lazy. It's not about not wanting to work. It's really feeling into just what is good for you right now, and then trying it out on a smaller scale, and then going bigger. And I believe that it's it is trial and error, but after a while, it'll be really hard to go back to making decisions with your brain all the time. So that really helped me. And one very specific thing that helped me a lot to get in touch with my emotions more in that way is there's a method called Grinberg. There's Grinberg therapists, and it's a sort of body work. And it's not, it is, I guess it is about shifting energies in your body, but it's really about connecting yourself and feeling your emotions and where they are in your body, where there is stuck energy in your body. And for me, that was a huge influence into how I started to connect better with my body and what's going on in there. And so intuition in itself is really just listening to reactions in your body as to whatever decisions or whatever you're faced with. So,
Well, I have never tried Grinberg method, but I've done lots of body work and energy work and yoga and meditation, and all of those assist. But maybe the best question we can ask ourselves is, what would it take me personally to improve my connection to my intuition? What would it take for me to trust my intuition more and see what our own intuition has to say for us individually?
Absolutely. And then just trying things out, experiment. I'm all about just, like you said, seeing for yourself. And I think Yeah, just try stuff out and just without any sort of judgment or even try out things that might not be where you think, oh, that's totally not me. I'd totally not be into that. Just try it out anyway.
Cool. Well, how can people find more about you, Conni?
At this point, you can check out my website in English, connibiesalski.com, and on YouTube, also my name, Conni Biesalski. And yeah, my next big project, Live Your Heart Out, will be coming online very soon.
Fabulous. And we will put those links in the show notes. Thanks so much for being with us today, Conni.
Thank you, Michael. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Get strategies and show notes at intuitiveleadershipmastery.com. What would it take to see you here next time on the Intuitive Leadership Mastery Podcast?